Once again, this is Breakfast Headlines on News Central Television with me, Blessings Mosugu. And let's kick off in the south of a continent where Zimbabwe Magistrate Court on Sunday threw out an appeal by the largest opposition party after police blocked their much-anticipated pre-election campaign rally. According to the party, the gathering where the Citizens Coalition for Change, the CCC, was expected to formally launch its election manifesto was the sixth to be banned or unlawfully disrupted in a week.
We are afraid because ZANU-PF is an instrument which is using all the structures to suppress us, but we want to have a free election.
Yes, the magistrate has dismissed the urgent appeal. In fact, she makes a very weird assertion that the appeal was not urgent. And yet, in terms of the Act, we have brought this on an urgent basis. The appeals of this nature are by the very nature urgent. So you cannot then say that this appeal is not urgent, you should have waited 5 days when we wanted to have our rally today. And the Act again, and like I said, we will then be advising on the course of action that we will take. Why? Because we must expose this kind of selective application of the law. It must be exposed leading up to 23 August.
And in Central Africa, Gabon's President Ali Bongo Ondimba said on Sunday that he will seek a third term as the country's head of state. Bongo, who is aged 64, took over from his father, Omar Bongo Ondimba, the country's ruler for 41 years in 2009. The president was narrowly re-elected in 2016 with just 5,500 more votes than rival Jean Ping, who claimed the election had been fixed. Bongo suffered a stroke in 2018 and spent months on the sidelines recovering, leaving the opposition to question his fitness to run the nation. The Bongo family has ruled the country for 55 years already and is branded a dynastic power by the opposition.
C'est mon ambition, une ambition qui n'a jamais cessé de m'animer et qui continue plus que jamais de m'animer, de me guider chaque jour. Gabonaises, Gabonais. Pour continuer d'écrire cette histoire et ce futur ensemble, parce que rien ne compte davantage que la réussite de notre pays. Parce que rien ne compte davantage que votre réussite à vous. J'annonce officiellement, aujourd'hui, je suis candidat.
Now to East Africa, at least 8 people, including 6 children, were killed on Sunday when the modified auto rickshaw they were traveling in struck a landmine. The incident took place between the village of Gisibao and town of Bulaburdi in Hishabela region. A security official in the town of Jowar, Ibrahim Abdi Ali, the administrative capital of a state, said the victims were 2 families traveling together in the same auto rickshaw to their farms. The landmine is said to have been planted by Al-Shabaab, the terrorists. He said those who committed this crime against unarmed civilians will not go unpunished. And in West Africa, Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu has emerged as the chairman of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, in Bissau. President Tinubu, who attended the Forum of West African Leaders for the first time at the 63rd Ordinary Session, was announced as chairman on Sunday in Bissau, the capital of Guinea-Bissau. Tinubu took over the chairmanship of a regional organization from the outgoing leader of the sub-regional political and economic body, President Umaru Sissoco Embalo of Guinea-Bissau. Upon his emergence on Sunday in Guinea-Bissau, Tinubu said he will take democracy seriously, citing that it is the best form of government. In Algeria, a federal high court in the country's capital, Abuja, has ordered the disclosure of the spending details of about $5 billion Abacha recovered funds by the government of former President Olusegun Obasanjo, Umaru Musa Yar'Adua, Goodluck Jonathan, and Muhammadu Buhari. The judgment comes after a Freedom of Information suit was brought before the court by the Social Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP. Dismissing the objections advanced by the government, the justice held, among others, that SERAP is entitled to the information on the spending details of about $5 billion Abacha money and need not show any special interest in the information sought. Now, Enugu State Governor Peter Mbah in Algiers East has said his administration is considering the option of taking the breakaway leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Simon Ekpa, and all the instigators of the illegal sit-at-home order in the state before the International Criminal Court, the ICC, in The Hague, Netherlands. Mbah, who declared that the state was winning the war against sit-at-home enforcers, insisted that Enugu residents would never take orders from people he described as murderers and enemies of the state. Well, that's all on the news at this hour. It's back to Olive and Osalge.
All right, thanks a lot, Blessings. Very interesting stories there. Of course, we will be extraying some of them later on the show this morning and all across the week. Thanks for stopping by. See you soon.
All right, thank you.
All right. Now back to the newspapers this morning. What are the major stories making headlines across the continent? We'll be sharing them with you right next. And we're going to be starting here in Nigeria.
The Vanguard newspaper this morning on the front page, governments of ex-presidents must account for $5 billion Abacha loot. Federal High Court orders administration of ex-presidents Obasanjo, Yar'Adua, Jonathan Buhari to account for repatriated funds. Serap urges Tinubu to obey court order. This is a very important conversation, but it just feels like a cycle, a never-ending cycle. We hear of Abacha loot, it comes back, and then we never hear what happens to the loot. So it feels like the loot is being relooted over and over again, and we don't really get to see. In some cases, they will tell you, okay, we're using it for the second Niger bridge. Yeah. They'll tell you that there are some projects that they're working on. So, I mean, that is not to say that all of them have been looted, but it's important for accountability purposes. I don't know why public office holders get riled up when asked to be accountable. I don't know if you saw the clip that made waves online about a certain former governor being asked by journalists as to what he did with the money of the people of his state whilst in office, and he got very riled. So for accountability purposes, it's important that people come out and say this and this and this are what I did with this money.
Yeah, I agree.
Lobby for juicy committees intensifies in Senate. Buhari, not in exile, congratulates Tinubu for emerging ECOWAS chairman. This is according to his aide. 200% hike in tuition fees will lead to massive students dropout, with our already high rate of out-of-school children being one of the highest in the world. This is another reason to have it increase, unfortunately. Banks in earnings windfall under high interest rate regime. Misconduct, PSC demotes CP to DCP, reduces ranks of 8 others. How Nwadkwon outsmarted Ningi, Tambuwal, Aliero, Dixon, others to emerge minority leader. We also have here Man United drop interest in Osimhen as PSG targets him. And at the top of the paper, curfew as 12 die in fresh attacks on Plateau communities. PIA, administrative challenges, inadequate funding, others hinder implementation, according to an investigation. And final story, Benue, death toll in Ukum local government area hits 30. Governor Alia, APC condemn bloodbath. And that's all we can take this morning on the Vanguard. Let's head over to the Guardian in Nigeria.
All right, the Guardian newspapers this morning says here 5 ex-governors and technocrats lead Tinubu's 42-man cabinet. That's on page 6. Of course, you can see pictures on your screen. There's some familiar faces. Abdullahi Ganduje, the former governor of Kano State. Nyesom Wike, the former governor of Rivers State. And of course, Nasser El-Rufai, all in middle there. Former governor of Kaduna State. These are some of the most popular faces that we're talking that I believe are being rumored to be likely ministers in the new administration. Very interesting. Tinubu emerges ECOWAS chairman, commits to democracy in sub-region. Ekpa hired to destabilize Southeast, frustrate Kanu's release to enrich himself, says Ohaneze. And also, terrorists killed 231 persons in Mangu Council. It's a really sad story there. These are the major stories, actually. And of course, you can see a picture there of the Lagos State governor, along with Femi Otedola, and I think there should be Akinwumi Adesina at the bottom right corner of your screen. These are the big major stories on the Guardian newspapers. But we're still here in Nigeria, seeing what we can find on the Punch newspapers right next.
All right, on the front page of the Punch newspaper, Ministerial appointment, National Assembly awaits nominees as Tinubu sends leads to DSS, EFCC, and others. Head of Service reshuffle secretaries ahead of minister's arrival, orders Tuesday resumption. Permanent Secretary rewrites Gbajabiamila, Akume, security chiefs, others on redeployments. Presidency says, I worked against Atiku, says Fayoshi. This is according to the Fayoshi. Adamu, NWC members over APC account audit on page 7. NDLEA arrests Delta Church workers, seizes drugs in states on page 4 and 5. Federal government to shut online banks pestering debtors. That would be such a relief. All this, I'm sure they call you as well. Hello, your friend Abdul Moshood, whatever is owing. It's annoying, it's wild. They're calling you with landlines. These days, when I see a landline calling me, I don't want to pick. Unfortunately, some people are actually clients. So now I have to pick everyone, but 90% of them are scam calls.
Oh, you pick and hang up.
Yeah, that's what I do. 18 Benin Republic bound party goers, driver, motorboy die in Lagos crash. That's very sad. Immigration officer shoots protester dead in Ogun community. Again. Cost of living, more Nigerians may join Japa train as hardship worsens. Subsidy removal, rising inflation threaten livelihoods, 9 million pushed into poverty. The final story, Tinubu emerges ECOWAS chair, rallies members against coup. That's all that we can take this morning on the front page of The Punch. Let's head over to our next paper.
All right, on the Guardian Post this morning in Cameroon, it says ex-Amba fighter narrates how kidnapped Indian delegates were killed. Also discloses dreaded Amba general Ten Kobo long died from injuries sustained during military raid. You can also find here UN 79th General Assembly presidency race. Yaoundé seduces African diplomatic corps with Yang's towering pedigree. Midero board hails management for community-based projects. Not very many stories, but first an interesting header here saying decentralization. When government sells goat, but still holds the rope. It's an interesting story there.
Sells the goat.
Interesting headline, yes.
But
When the
holds
government holds the rope.
It's basically talking about the external factors. Them being it's like they're giving you a Greek gift. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's a Greek gift, but they are telling you, take, but they're not really letting go. Yeah.
All right, these are the big stories on the Guardian Post this morning, and all the stories that we can share this time across the newspapers. Stay with us. We have, of course, more conversations coming your way as we continue with Breakfast Central this morning after this break.
The youth has 60% of its entire population, and it's time for their voices to be heard loud and clear. Involving the young people in nation building is not merely a question of inclusion, but one that is vital for economic growth, innovation, peace, and security. Fafanua Africa provides the platform for the teeming young and vibrant population of our dear continent to voice their concerns with one goal in mind. Provide profound and tangible solutions that will help redefine and reposition the future of Africa. Join us every Friday at 2 p.m. West African Time, 4 p.m. East African Time, and 3 p.m. Central African Time on News Central TV. Fafanua Africa, redefining Africa.
Take it from me, the mind-blowing way to do things is the Glow LTE advanced way. When you stream, it's like you're in the drama itself. When you make calls, you reach where others can't. Cookie! Doing business is like running Wall Street from your street. And when you play,
I did beat the guy.
We'll see about that.
it's like traveling the world without moving an inch.
Is that Toby in your room?
You can download in the blink of an eye in 4K.
Go.
And when you go for your dreams, it's like running with the strength of 3 nations behind you.
Glow LTE Advanced, the power of 3 data networks in one. Get a Glow SIM or dial *301#.
Opinions are free, facts are sacred, but truth is universal.
How, in practical terms, can we, for instance, de-escalate the tension?
President must see himself as the President of the Federal Republic.
On Digi360, we give you a complete dose of everything.
I hardly believe what politicians say in this part of the world.
A new Nigeria is possible, a future is possible.
We delve into the issues, dissect it so that you can understand it. Use it to take action. Digi360, dissecting the issues.
As reporters, we don't just gather news stories, we experience them daily. So join us on Report Desk Africa as we share these experiences and review the top African stories. Only on News Central.
Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu has emerged the new chairman of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS. The decision was announced at the organization's 63rd Ordinary Session of the Authority of Heads of State and Government of the Economic Community in Guinea-Bissau yesterday. Now, as the chairman, Tinubu will play a crucial role in leading the ECOWAS member states towards economic development and collaborate closely with member states, regional institutions, and international partners to implement initiatives aimed at promoting economic growth, regional trade integration, and social development.
Tinubu is the latest entrant into the exclusive club of heads of state in West Africa and has pledged to bear the responsibility of the office and run an inclusive administration of the regional organization, and warned that the threat to peace in the sub-region had reached an alarming proportion with terrorism and an emerging pattern of military takeover that now demands urgent and concerted actions.
We will not allow coup after coup in West Africa sub-region. We will take this up seriously with African Union and to the European Union and Britain and America. Take it up. It's a challenge. Yes, democracy is very tough to manage, but it's the best form of government. And we also ascribe to it. We should make a pledge here that in furtherance of our region's economic recovery and growth, we will commit to democracy and promote democracy and rule of law. I am with you. In Nigeria, we are back. Thank you, and thank you very much.
Of course, over time, Nigeria has had, past presidents and military heads of state as chairman of ECOWAS, all the way back to Yakubu Gowon, of course, when, of course, Muhammadu Buhari was military head of state back then in the 80s. He was, Babangida was, Sani Abacha was, Goodluck Jonathan was, Yar'Adua was, of course, Buhari once again was ECOWAS chairman. So it has been, repeated, incidents where the Nigerian president is head of ECOWAS. So, of course, we wish the current ECOWAS chairman the best. The Nigerian president, once again, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, last week instructed his newly appointed security chiefs to work together to end the unyielding spate of insecurity in the country. National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu told State House correspondents after a closed-door meeting with the president and service chiefs at the Aso Rock Villa in the nation's capital, Abuja. He says that they were told that they must work as a team and there is work to be done. He says, in quote, Tinubu's directive is not dissimilar from the order he had given to the immediate past service chiefs on the 1st of June, where he declared that he would not condone them working at cross purposes. We're joined this morning by security expert Salahuddin Hashimu, who's, of course, joining us to share his thoughts on Nigeria's security challenges and the task ahead for the new security chiefs and the NSA. Thanks for joining us. Good morning, sir. We'd like that you unmute your device. It seems you are currently muted, so we can't hear you yet. But while we try to get that sorted, yeah, great to have you. Now we can hear you. Now, let's get into the conversation. While orders are being barked left and right and people are making statements, the NSA, of course, is making statements. The Inspector General of Police has barked orders at his men and whatnot. People are still being killed. In Plateau State, it's in the news this morning that 9 people were killed in Plateau State. Benue State, of course, has had a very, very severe crisis in the last couple of days also. And so I want to know if you think that the current service chiefs and the security formation across the country understands the urgency with which they should get to work, or should we just give them time?
Yeah, I think there is no need to give too much time. First of all, the service chief need to conduct a comprehensive assessment of what is currently happening now regarding security situation in the country. That assessment will offer them an inroad to understand the kind of stakeholders to consult, what are the kind of security apparatus they need to put in place, what are the security infrastructure that would be needed for them to be able to build the kind of inroad and engagement that is desired. Of course, they have been part of this entire team from time. So, I mean, giving them time isn't really the case because they do not have any excuse in trying to do this. And the only way they can actually hit the ground running and run very quickly is for them to coordinate better, and then of course do that through adequate intelligence sharing, joint training, getting involved in some level of intelligence capability engagement, and of course establishing clear lines of communication. These service chiefs over time have supported previous service chiefs in terms of how they prosecuted all of those warfare. But unfortunately, I think the key gap for me here remains fundamentally with the trust deficit that they have with communities. A number of communities still don't think that this whole arrangement is basically to be able to prosecute or advance human security. They see it basically as an attempt for regime security, as activities of merchants who have seen security just as a cash cow, an opportunity to continue to milk the economy. But of course, if you must do this and you want to do it with a deliberate attempt to resolve this problem, there are templates that you must adopt, there are templates that you must follow. And those templates means that first, you do an assessment of what is existing, 2, what are the root causes, 3, what are the human capability that you have, 4, what are the platforms that are existing, and 5th is to understand how to be able to engage whether kinetic or non-kinetic approach. The Office of the National Security Advisor used to have a soft approach that they have engaged in the past. Unfortunately, the just immediate past NSA disbanded that arm, which is of course giving room for every kinetic operation to engage. But the fact is that security is a carrot and stick approach. You need to also find the carrot component that will help you bring in strategic communication as a key element, bring in some sustainable livelihood component that will help people to de-radicalize, and of course help you to be able to engage at vertical and horizontal level. If you don't do this, you will not be able to contribute effectively to tackling security situation. And most importantly, is the concept of protection. Protection must be seen as a right-based perspective, not just as some level of morality that they want to fulfill. It's a legal issue because every arm of our legal framework actually looked at it from the point of right. But unfortunately, we have seen some related situation in an attempt to curb some situation in localities or theaters of operations. We have seen emerging situation also happening, conflict-related sexual violence, the issue of unborn children, the kind of violations that comes as a result of security involvement in various theaters have also emerged.
Mr. Ashimo, I'd like us to further expand on something that you've spoken about. First, you've mentioned how there's a trust deficit, which is right. You've also talked about the fact that people need to see security as a right, not as a form of morality. And there are many layers to look at this from. If we look at the month of June alone, reports have it that there have been 690 deaths from, right. This is right after President Tinubu has been sworn into power. 690 lives have been lost. We've seen numerous numbers, and what we've seen is that this has been handed down from government to government. Several reasons, from state actors to the terrorists and the likes. Now, if we go back to the conversation we had earlier today in the Southeast, and we see what's happening with, for example, the indigenous people of Biafra and the sit-at-home order. Peter Amba has come out to say that the sit-at-home order has come to an end and has urged people to come out. But people aren't coming out, right? So how does the government, how do these NSA security chiefs communicate this? How do they communicate this trust? The fact that this is a right, how best can they communicate it to Nigerians before we get to the point where people can be able to say, of a truth, it's a right and it is not a favor that they are doing to us?
Thank you. Security is not about armament. Security is about human capital development. And that is one thing that our security agents must realize, particularly those who are just coming into the system. They must understand that, first of all, they must win the heart and minds of community people to be able to help them in terms of offering them intelligence. The most effective way to tackle any form of insecurity is human intelligence. How do you get those human intelligence when you cannot even relate with those community people? And that is why it is always a standard practice anywhere in the globe that when you have a theater set up anywhere, first of all, you have to appoint a community liaison person who interfaces with the community to allow them understand that the essence for this theater is to be able to bring some level of stability and protection. Then people can then relate with them very properly. But in a situation where you come with some grandstanding platforms and you are wheeling everything into a community and making them look like, well, they are just subjective, you would not get the kind of desired support from the people. And of course, the response rate from the side of the state is always very weak and very poor. The individuals know too well that if they yield and obey government, that if anything happens, response rate traditionally hasn't been very fantastic. So obviously they know that it is actually going to be a death wish or suicide for them to go in that way. So they will rather just make sure that they obey the instructions coming from those who are non-state actors giving those kind of information. And of course, you know too well, there is also fragmentation happening within all of those groups, whether in the Southeast, whether in the Northeast, whether in the Northwest. You have fragmentation happening. That is an opportunity, for instance, for the service chiefs to find a way of engaging a particular soft group and find a way to be able to demobilize the rest by using some sort of negotiation skills. And of course, unfortunately, the issue of negotiation hasn't been one of the very fantastic tools that we have applied or deployed in resolving disputes or implementing policies around counter-terrorism or counter-insurgency operations. And we always have this feeling that we have to come with every form of arms and platforms. But if you negotiate from the point of strength, there are groups who are willing to yield to you, and then of course use that as an inroad and entry point. Then the people can then trust you and have that confidence. But unfortunately, that is not the case. We have had consistent situation where community engagement and trust building has been very fantastic. But this is very crucial. And community engagement literally help to promote a number of initiatives that these guys would have to cooperate in fighting any form of crime and criminality. But if you see the people in terms of community policing, outreach program, promoting respect for the rule of law as secondary, then of course it
Yeah, well, we might have lost a bit of the connection there, but of course, as we try to reconnect, the conversation is mostly on, improving on Nigeria's security situation, and of course, the task ahead for its new service chiefs, its new national security advisor, and every other person involved. Okay, I think we have our guest back. So you've spoken now mostly on strategy, and of course that is on the local, level, and of course, also with military strategy and the likes. But I want us to talk about infrastructure, and how I don't think that over time we've seen an honest improvement in security infrastructure. If we are simply trying to improve on Nigeria's security, yes, we will do community engagement. Yes, we will try to, generate, increase level of trust, with security agencies. But if they do not have the infrastructure, there is nothing that they can do. If you look at the situation in the southeast or in Benue State or in the northern part of the country, if you do not have policemen, because a lot of these things aren't even, things that require the military. If you do not have policemen who are capable and who have infrastructure, you can't do anything. And so would we be wasting our time as Nigerians expecting anything different if we do not see that the current administration invests more in security architecture?
The first thing we must deal with very strongly is the entire landscape of our security system. One is to handle it politically, because obviously there are a lot of political influence that is undermining the capability and the capacity of the entire security situation. And that is because when body language, whatever you want to call the body odor of the fellow who is actually leading in terms of being the commander of the commander-in-chief is not responsive or suggestive, then of course that also provides the immediate agenda for those who are service chiefs. Secondly is how have they translated political directives into queries that help them to develop action plan, develop some set of immediate inroad. That for me is some of the things that we should be looking at. What is the answer providing in terms of immediate direction for the service chiefs? I remember one of the events we have actually talked about the kind of knowledge that those who actually lead the security system have and at their disposal determines how progressive that we become. Because if you don't definitely have those very deep understanding of the entire approaches and the theories that help you to be able to deal and detect and approach, you will definitely only be able to offer directions based on what is capable and what's available to you. So that for me is a major gap, and it is very fundamental. So what is the knowledge economy of our political leaders? Because they must be able to offer you direction strategically. They must be able to offer you indicators for success and what you should do and what you are not doing and the reason why you are not doing it well. Because of course, if you cannot do and establish those indicators, you are. So political leaders must have those very fluid cerebral understanding of how security system functions and operates. That is the only way service chiefs will respect you, and they will not be able to come and use some kind of technical jargons just to bamboozle you, and that in itself is fundamental. The second is the operational gap and the operational knowledge. The operations require specific up-to-date rules of engagement and concept of operations that allows you to be able to understand the right-based perspective and then understand that, look, whatever you must do, the people must be at the center of your operations. That for me is not working, because if you have an operational plan that is not yielding to modern policing or modern counter-terrorism infrastructure, then it's a major issue. Then the third one is the personnel, which you have mentioned. When you have personnel that came in through a faulty recruitment process, when you have personnel that don't have the capacity to understand specific directives, when you have personnel that have gaps with knowledge and handling of weapons and they don't even have, that for me is an issue. And of course, going back to operation, is the issue of the availability of platforms also. And then of course, I've mentioned severally that at a time in this country, we were buying APCs that our personnel were exiting from the top rather than the conventional one where you have to exit from the rear. If you have an APC where you have to exit from the top, obviously you become a meat pie or barbecue for those who are attacking you, because you need to be combat ready in terms of exit. But some people found it convenient to be able to bring in those kind of platforms. Why? Because they are going to make some marginal differences from them. And then before you go to personnel, then you go to finance. Finance is actually where the issue really lies. And then, of course, procurement. Those are the 5 pillars that actually defines the kind of infrastructure that this service chiefs must pay a lot of attention to.
Yeah,
because
and like I said,
it is going to be a major issue.
Yeah, and like I said, I think Olive will still have a question to ask. Like I said, if we do not see that these things are different, then it's a waste of time. What we are really doing is changing the people who are running the same, platform and running the same ship that has failed over and over and over, for the last, decade and more. Olive.
We've run out of time, so maybe as quickly as possible. I just want you to touch on this. Since 2017, I want to believe we've seen different IG of police coming in and saying that they will take away VIPs, the police from VIPs. A recent promise has been made. Egbetokun has promised, that a number of these VIP police would be withdrawn. Till now, we don't know if that has actually been implemented. So I want you to share with us, the possibility of this being actually implemented this time and how much difference it will make.
Unfortunately, that hasn't been the case. There has been a successive commercialization of that particular process, and I can tell you that until we're able to redesign those kind of arrangements, we will continue to have a lot of ungoverned spaces where we have little or no personnel to man them. The reason why spaces are ungoverned is because we have almost 1/3 of personnel who should be in the field engaging at different operations attached to various individuals. So that in itself needs to be reviewed, and of course it must be deliberate. And there must be a monitoring team, particularly responding from the IG's office, that would help them ensure that this is actually complied with. But if that is not done, I can guarantee you that this is going to continue that way, because a lot of people at tactical level have commercialized that process, and that is the reason why we have the kind of gap that we have today.
All right. Of course, the current administration has its work cut out for it. And, Nigerians would not like to be disappointed, including those who are still seeking justice for crimes that have been committed in the past. Thank you very much for stopping by. We enjoy speaking with you. Of course, we will bring you in again.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Now, away from security, let's talk education now. The governor of Anambra State, Professor Chukwuma Soludo, has directed that Mmesoma Ejikeme, the student of Anglican Girls Secondary School, Newi, who has been the center of a JAMB score controversy, undergo counseling. Now, this comes after the governor had set up an 8-member committee comprising 6 professors to examine the controversy and report back to him.
The student admitted on Thursday, July 6, 2023, that she manipulated her JAMB results to arrive at 362, which was the highest in the country. In response to this, the girl's father, Romanos, apologized to the Joint Admissions and Matriculations Board, JAMB, the Anambra State government, and the country, saying his daughter deceived him and his family will not contest the outcome of the government panel. It's been quite a lot of conversations have emerged as a result of this. It's unfortunate that what we've seen is grown-ups have turned it into an opportunity to make it an ethnic conversation. It's very unfortunate that this is happening. Some people have still offered to continue with the initial promise to sponsor her education beyond through tertiary institution. But this is just to outrightly say that we condemn the actions of manipulating and forging results. It is not right. It would never be right. It should never be encouraged. But it's also important for us to say that this shows, of course, I mean, it's highlighted conversations about corruption. There are people who are saying that she's doing this because she has seen other people doing it, even though that's not really an excuse.
It's not an excuse.
Exactly. We can't excuse bad behavior.
But yeah, I agree with you, and I'm first of all very disappointed, because I
hoped
blindly, I mean, in my head, I was thinking, nah, this girl's too small to be doing this kind of thing, but I was completely, shocked over the weekend when eventually the stories came out that she had confessed. I'm not sure exactly what the plan is for those who are saying that they would like to sponsor higher education.
Well,
or whatnot,
she doesn't need JAMB. They'll go through a private university.
Yeah, I mean, but what are you trying to do? Reward her for bad behavior or what? And I feel like these are times when people should learn lessons, and if there's a lesson to be learned here,
it should be learned.
She must,
they say that they're trying to use her as an example so that she can use her story to shine a light to other young people to say, you shouldn't do this, it doesn't end.
By rewarding her with admission somewhere else.
And at this point, it's important to mention that the real person who at this point deserves all the accolades is Kamsi Yochukwu Nkechinyere Ume, who's a student of Deeper Life Bible School. She got the highest score in the JAMB with 360. She got the highest UTME 2023 score. So congratulations to her. Chemistry 99, Maths 98, Physics 97, English 66. We hope that more young people can aspire to do amazing in the coming years with JAMB, and also to let people know that academics is not the only way we judge excellence for students. If some students can't excel with academics, allow them excel where they can excel. But fraud, manipulation of results, and the likes will never ever be a right thing to do. So congratulations to Kamsi Yochukwu, and we hope that Ms. Omah learns from this and does better in the nearest future. It's time for us to share with you what's happening in the entertainment scene, and we have Sam Dandy who's on standby to bring us the updates in that regard. Still to come this morning on Breakfast Central.
South Africa's Kabza the Small joins Drake's It's All a Blur tour.
And we share with you what our top story of the day this morning is on Breakfast Central.
Now, of course, so much happened over the weekend in entertainment. But let's begin with this one. Here in Nigeria, where the Oba of Lagos, Oba Rilwan Aremu Akiolu, has strongly criticized Nollywood hit film Gangs of Lagos and demanded its removal of scenes wrongly portraying the Eyo people. Now, in the 3-page letter addressed to Amazon Prime Nigeria on the 28th of June, the Lagos monarch expressed his deep concerns. In fact, sending an extra copy to the governor of Lagos State, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, he highlighted the impact of the film's depiction. Now, Oba Akiolu stated that it has tarnished the reputation of the Eyo brand by associating it with acts of terror, chaos, and murder. Now, he believes the movie's portrayal could also lead to doubts about the authenticity and cultural significance of the Eyo, deterring potential tourists and visitors from experiencing the cherished cultural heritage event. Now, Oba cited violations of indigenous intellectual property rights and the defilement of sacred rights, and demanded within a period of 14 days the submission of a compensatory proposal from the film's producers to address the infringement. Well, that's one we're going to talk about for sure. But still in Nigeria, African giant Burna Boy has set a new record selling out another international stadium. Now, the Nigerian superstar successfully thrilled fans in the fully packed Citi Field Stadium in New York City. Now, the Grammy Award-winning star becomes the first African artist to deliver a sold-out stadium in the U.S. Burna Boy sold out 41,000 capacity Citi Field Stadium on Saturday with a guest performance by his sister, Nisi, who in fact opened the show. The 32-year-old singer performed Yay and songs from his last 4 albums, from Outside, African Giant, Twice as Tall, and of course, Love Damini. He also delivered a fire performance of hit collaboration Location alongside British rapper Dave. Fans were also excited after Burna Boy unveiled Big 7, his forthcoming single, at the record-breaking show. We can see Busta Rhymes there. Everyone, it's Burna, okay? So it's not new that we see international stars of different caliber at, Afrobeat shows, let's call it that, even in the US and other parts of the world. So it's so beautiful, and Afrobeat to the world. Let's watch this a bit. right, the love for Afrobeats definitely is growing, and we're looking at it even getting bigger. On the international scene, Drake kickstarted his It's All a Blow tour. The Canadian star opened his first tour in 5 years with a blockbuster show at Chicago's United Center. Now, the opening night, Drake gave a few credits and teased fans about upcoming projects. In fact, South African fans were thrilled with the news that Amapiano star Kabza De Small played a big part in the show's success. Now, the South African DJ and record producer co-produced all the music on the tour. Now, although Kabza De Small didn't appear on the tour in person, fans were thrilled by the news as well as Drake's appreciation post. Now, Drake has shown mad love for Amapiano in the past year, either through his OVO Sound radio playlist and public admirations of setting stars like the Princess of Amapiano, like we call her, Uncle Waffles, and producer Kelvin Momo. Now, Drake performed about 50 songs, and in total, including hit songs like Take Care, Maven's Room. He also broke news to his fans at the show of an album coming out soon, which is exciting. In fact, there would also be some new music from Drake and Nicki Minaj. Recall that the two megastars, once signed to Young Money Cash Money, gave us 2011 hit song Moments for Life, and fans are looking forward to something like that, or maybe even something more interesting. I'm definitely a Drake fan, so I'm looking forward to more music any day, anytime. Finally, a transgender woman was crowned Miss Netherlands for the first time, making history in the Dutch country. 22-year-old Ricky Valerie Coley won the pageant on Saturday, qualifying her to compete in the upcoming Miss Universe competition later this year. Now, Miss Netherlands will compete with women from all over the world battling for the crown. Although she becomes the first trans woman in Netherlands to compete, she would not be the first trans woman to vie for Miss Universe title. In fact, Spain's Angela Pons did so in 2018. What can we say? I guess we're all being inclusive in this generation, and we wish her, I was going to miss the pronoun, all the best. But let me drag you guys into the conversation. First thing, Gangs of Lagos. What are your thoughts about this?
Would you like to share your thoughts?
Would you like to share?
I don't think the others watched the movie. I think those aren't necessarily his thoughts. I think in a society that really has a lot of, focus on growth and inclusivity and, peace and all of that, no Oba would randomly watch a movie and be upset, So I think these things are born, out of a certain place that has emerged in the last couple of months or years in Nigeria. And of course, it's when you see these things as in someone's creative space in a movie, it should be kept there. It's a movie, it doesn't necessarily depict what reality is. It's a movie.
And I'd like to just, piggyback on what Osaoge has said. For those who are yet to see the movie, this is the picture you're seeing on the screen is what the Eyo festival looks like. So this is the Eyo masquerade. And in the film, there were scenes of them actually shooting someone, killing someone. Now, this is what the Oba has said is a false representative of the Eyo masquerade. We know that, first of all, Eyo is not a masquerade that kills. I think that everybody should know that. And for those who don't know, I would think that that movie would maybe make people curious enough to research more about the Eyo masquerade and find out, oh, it looks interesting. What is the masquerade about? It looks more like something that would spark my curiosity. Right. And we've seen in a number of movies where they have costumes and masquerades in other countries doing things that they typically wouldn't do in real life. It's all part of creative flexibility. I don't think it was meant, I don't think that the spirit and the intent of that was to insult the Eyo masquerade, but I do think that it was something that promotes culture. It was a very colorful video. It was very intriguing. And personally, I don't know how that is going to play out. Them being asked to remove that scene from the movie.
I haven't seen the movie, but I'm sure that if you look at that movie, there's other people who can decide that they're going to be offended because,
there's always something to be
character, doesn't.
Oh, they were even offended about, some people were offended about how Lagos Island was represented in Gangs of Lagos. There would always be something to be offended about.
And that really is stifling the creativity of Nollywood.
Right.
And stifling the creativity of Nigerians generally if you keep picking out these things to be offended by.
True.
But of course, congratulations to the new, was it Miss World or Miss Universe?
Miss Netherlands at this point, Miss Universe for Netherlands. So of course, she will still have to compete for Miss Universe, where other countries will be represented. But for her country, yes,
I think the whole idea of inclusivity, like you mentioned, is starting to now be a danger to women's spaces. Because we are seeing these persons get, involved in women's sports. We've seen them now start to win women, pageants, beauty pageants. So I beg your pardon.
Okay.
And they would continue to expand like that until women, who initially have complained of being, traumatized and being, held back by society, would now be held back even more by more men who are getting into these spaces. So the more we continue to support the whole idea of inclusivity and we do not condemn what is wrong, because what is wrong is wrong. And if we do not condemn it outrightly, then we'll continue to see these things happen. And it's women that will continue. Unfortunately, women continue to be the ones who suffer, the outcomes of these.
Well, I want to quickly talk about that one. I do understand what you're talking about. But then in sports and maybe pageantry, I think there are two different things. Sports, of course, in the sense of a man definitely will have more, or most men will have more power physically, right? It's compared. But this is beauty. I don't know in any world where a man has more advantage than any woman in winning pageantry about a woman. But of course, we do understand that.
I mean, if you're not a woman, you're not a woman. That's the thing. That's really what it is, And so, yes, I understand that there might be a slight difference, because of, physical strength, with regards to sports and pageantry. But if you're not a woman, you're still not a woman.
Olive, what are your thoughts?
Well, the conversation is now in 2023. Who is a woman?
An adult female human.
Who is a woman? I think
someone who identifies as a woman?
To go and think about
an adult female human. That's not like someone who identifies as a woman.
I'm teasing. Oh, sad. Hey.
Yeah, I can't identify, as a woman. And that's the thing. Regardless of how inclusive and how you want to sound, like you're that's the word woke.
Right.
You can't change what is fact, and I can't wake up tomorrow morning. Olive can't wake up tomorrow morning and say, I identify as a man.
Well, we're in sensitive times right now.
True.
Well, it's very sensitive times. I just identify as a soft babe. That is what I identify right now.
If I identify as an elephant, do I come to work tomorrow with a large trunk and decide
you know what?
New Central still needs to keep me employed with my trunk
as long as you are not hurting anybody? I feel like sometimes, where do we draw the line to people's freedom? And that's the thing, someone's rights. If, in my opinion, it doesn't affect you personally, someone saying that they want this or will vie for this or they're a woman, definitely doesn't affect my thoughts of who a woman is. So,
don't you
think I'd like to step in. I'll jump in at this point and say that it is a really sensitive conversation.
It is.
That we cannot maybe
it really
address
shouldn't be.
in this time.
And so, Olive, I'm sorry, but this is the reason why it continues to happen, because when it should be spoken about, there's the whole, it's really sensitive. People are really sensitive about these things.
We know
you shouldn't be. It's simple.
Every topic can be sensitive. We've talked about so many things, whether it was even slave trade or abuse, all these
things.
Every
topic is sensitive.
It is. So
unfortunately, we've run out of time to have this conversation.
Right.
We need to get out of the studio. Sam Dandy, thank you for bringing us entertainment, very controversial entertainment today. We'll see you around. Let's share with you what's happening later today on News Central as we've come to the end of Breakfast Central.
2 p.m. West African time.